Welcome to St John's for our weekly update. On Saturday just gone, we held a talking circle that was held as a result of our parish visioning day, Cathedral Visioning Day, held back in February. And the talking circle was held with the aim of allowing us to explore and to hear stories from people who would see the blessing of same-sex marriages as a blessing. It was a very important process in that it didn't fall into the sort of normal Western way of doing things. Whenever we discuss an issue, and discussing is part of the problem, whenever we discuss an issue we tend to fall into the sort of parliamentary style, and that is the idea that everything has to become a debate. And so in that way of doing things, at every time you meet you have this idea that you should hear all sides of the story. The problem with that is that people who become the subject of the discussion feel alienated, disempowered, and therefore silenced. And so the exercise we undertook on Saturday was what's called an exercise of epistemic justice as a contribution to the overall process. And when one is seeking epistemic justice, one enables those who normally feel silenced or those who feel like they are the subject of the conversation to speak, and to speak in their own terms, and the rest of us who are not the subject of the conversation when it gets turned into a debate, the rest of us sit and listen and receive the stories. A process like the one we held on Saturday doesn't produce outcomes, but it does enable epistemic justice to take place, and for all involved to hear stories that often don't get told. And so it was an important part of a much larger process. And the people who came, people who held a variety of views on the idea of blessing marriages, listened very carefully to one another. And many of the participants have given us permission to share their stories. And so over the next little while, those stories will be shared in various forms. So I'm incredibly grateful to the members of our community who turned up and for the gracious way in which that talking circle operated. There's a new episode of our podcast, our On the Way podcast. In this episode we were talking to Catherine Keller, and Catherine Keller is keen for us to reclaim the word apocalypse. Apocalypse is one of those words that has sort of been taken over by a particular part of the Christian tradition, one that has the idea that apocalypse is all about the end of the world and predicting when the world will end, and often praying that the world will end. Whereas Catherine helps us understand that the word apocalypse is actually a very powerful word about revealing the nature of what's happening so that one can see clearly, and if one can see clearly then one can act well. And so our podcast is an attempt to reclaim the word apocalypse for the broader Christian tradition, and not to leave it as a word for a particular group within the tradition. So I commend it to you. It's a really wonderful conversation. The new edition of Forward Day by Day is available here in the Cathedral, or if you make contact with the office we can post you a copy. Forward Day by Day is a small publication that offers a reflection, a reading and a reflection for each day of a 3-month period. It's a wonderful way to build faith practice into our life. So if you'd like to explore Forward Day by Day, please find your copy in the Cathedral, or as I say, we can post you one. This coming Sunday is the first Sunday of the month. It's a Sunday where we have some wonderful things happen in the life of the Cathedral. After the 9:30 service there will be the monthly Labyrinth Walk. You can participate in that in person here in the Cathedral, or you can join by watching it on YouTube. And of course the YouTube recordings are available for you to use anytime you like, and we've now developed quite a bank of Labyrinth Walks And so you can use that as a resource wherever you are and whenever you like. There's always a link on the website to a finger labyrinth, which allows you to walk the labyrinth using your finger at home. Then on Sunday evening, we're joined by Archbishop Philip for the next in our series of mystics, theologians and God botherers. Archbishop Philip will be talking to us about Charles Raven, who was very interested in exploring the interaction between science and theology. So the Archbishop will preach at Evensong. You'll be able to watch that on YouTube if you can't be here in person. And then after Evensong, we enter into conversation with the Archbishop, and that conversation will be held here in the cathedral in person, but there'll also be the opportunity to join us via Zoom. You'll find all the links you need for that on the cathedral website. And then as we move into the week, Wednesday we have Wasting Time with God, and this month we're joined by George Johnson, who'll be talking about his book Into the Storyverse, an exploration of how narrative and story helps us to understand ourselves and to find our place in the world. So please come and join George on Wednesday morning. Once again, that will be offered in person in the Darnell room, but also you can join us using Zoom, that wonderful technology that allows us to connect with one another often. And finally today, before we have the celebrations, I want to pay tribute to Bishop Ron and Katie Williams. Ron and Katie have decided to move to Sydney to be closer to family. They have been coming to worship over the last few months to the 5 o'clock service on Saturday. This coming Saturday will be their last act of worship with us, and so I wanted to publicly pay tribute to the incredible contribution they've made to the life of the cathedral community over the last couple of decades and more, and to wish them well as they move to Sydney, and to say that we will miss them deeply. And so to birthday celebrations this week, we say happy birthday to Alex Sajikowski, Maureen Clegg, Sandra Beck and Anna Murray. We hope you have a great day. Thank you for your contribution to the life of the cathedral community. We're grateful for the continued offering of money that enables us to enable the ministry of this place. We are deeply moved by people's generosity and also the way in which people give of themselves to enable the ministry in this place. Peace be with you.